Worm is started as a private initiative. So group of artists in Rotterdam 23 years ago, something like that, who were bored in the city, and they were friends. So they said, "What can we do to be not be bored? Okay, let's start a space." And in effect, I think that is still what drives us at the moment. Yeah, that we don't want to be bored, and that we don't want to live in a boring city. So it is, and I think after 2 or 3 years after they started, I was not there yet. I'm in Rotterdam since 4 years now. But when they after 3 years after they started, they got some money from the government. And then they could do a little more, and then they got a little bit more money of the government, etc., etc. And at this point, we are in the situation that I mentioned earlier, that half of our money comes from government. Yeah, but it's a private initiative. So the government says, okay, this is an interesting initiative. It fits with the goals that we have. It is important enough for enough people in the city.
As a kid, I think around 21 or 22 years old, I had my first encounter with Worm. Like they had recycled tires in the whole interior. So for me, it looked and felt like the weirdest place I'd ever been.
We have cinema, we have gallery, we have foyer, bar, terrace, so blocking a whole part of Witte de Wit. And basically this place is the leftover free public art space. We can actually play with people drinking and consuming art in the same time. It's a wormhole, so once you enter it and you are hooked on it, it kind of sucks you in.
My name is Khalil Riyahi. I work at Worm as a program manager and club programmer since a bit more than 2 years. I started working at Worm just before the lockdown. Not the best moment to start working in nightlife. But I'm still here, so we've kept busy. Well, when we started the project, we were in the middle of a lockdown. So all we could do was Zoom each other weekly, and that was the way we got to know each other. We did our first conference, like we're here in Rotterdam doing the 4th and final working conference as part of the Venues from the Future project. So the first conference we were supposed to go to Brussels, but instead we saw each other again through Zoom. So for a 2-day-long program, sitting behind your computer, I imagined something entirely different. But the second conference, we were able to finally meet each other again physically in San Sebastian in Spain, and meeting all the people face to face was really such a nice experience, because so much information gets lost when you're only talking through a screen, and meeting these people and not only working but having fun with your project partners. Really was super cool in a very stressful period where so much was not allowed. So meeting all the people involved was definitely and not only once but 3 times. That was really fun.
I'm Iñaki Otalora. I work for Dabadaba.
Nada, este es el Daba. El Daba lleva abierto desde 2014. Empezó siendo un garito pequeñito que hacían fiestitas, empezaron a traer gente. Luego más adelante hicieron una obra para poder ser club y le han mejorado el sonido y le han traído a DJs de todo el mundo, grupos de todos los tipos. Ha habido charlas, Laura, la amiga, ha organizado mercadillos guapísimos. Yo aquí aprendí a pinchar, hemos dado luego talleres de DJ.
Hemos pasado el sonido del disco al sampler, ¿vale?
Gladys, en el parque de aquí al lado, flipas. Conciertos, talleres para niños. La verdad que han organizado cosas guays. Qué fiestones, tío, la verdad.
Ahora aguda y corta, por favor.
The main things about Dabadaba is that we make a lot of things and a lot of activities. I think in last normal year, 2019, we made about 325 bands in about 200 events. So it's for a small city like San Sebastian and for a small place like this and for a private organization like us.
I was pleasantly surprised when I came here because Dabadaba is a very vibrant space. A lot of things are going on. And I think it's very well connected with local communities, but also because of our visit, obviously, but also very well international connected. And it makes it a really interesting space, I think, for artists from this region, but also artists who comes out of Rotterdam to connect with the people here. So I highly enjoyed it.
Dabadaba looks like a very organic place. That is something that I think all the other partners, international partners in this project share. I can feel that there is a real audience that is recognizing the good work that they're doing. And when I see the struggles that they have and the way that they handle it, I can definitely confirm it. Yeah, it's not easy. I'm Nikola, I come from Belgrade and I represent the venue Catch22, actually Kvaka 22, that's in Serbian. We are a squat and we've been operating since 2015. Yeah.
And I'm Laura, I'm also working and collaborating with Kvaka since 3 years now. And I'm mainly focusing on the international project.
Prvi put u prostoru smo ušli bukvalno pre 4 godine, tačno u junu je bilo to.
Ljudi nemaju svest o tome šta je zapravo Kvaka, kako je ona nastala, šta mi zapravo radimo ovde i tako dalje. Uglavnom ljudi misle da smo mi klub. Ovaj prostor je bio radionica za popravku muzičkih instrumenta Vojske Jugoslavije. Kada smo mi ušli, prostor je već bio napušten.
Nije bilo nikakvih čuvara i ničega i unutra je bilo ono kao što može bude, našli smo dosta špriceva.
Mi smo svaki dan zapravo radili na tome. Bilo nas 10, 12. Kad smo otvorili, to je bilo stvarno jedan predobar event u Beogradu, na 100 ljudi je došlo. To je stvarno bilo neverovatno. Nije postojao problem koji nije mogao da se prevaziđe. I to je, sve je rešivo zapravo, sve je rešivo, samo mora da se jako trudiš oko svih tih stvari.
U gradu je došlo do toga da ti da bi svirao kao band koji se bavi rock'n'rollom i koji nema zagarantovanu publiku, ti moraš da platiš da bi svirao bilo gde. Sad ako si ti neki mladi band koji je nije bitno da je dobar ili loš, koji je izbacio album ili šta god, hoće napravi koncert, ti moraš da uložiš 150-200 € da bi došao negdje svirao gde će kao možda ti doći neko, znaš. Kvaka je tu ispala, igrom slučajeva, kao jako dobro mesto, jer je jednostavno postojala potreba za prostorom da se svira, a da ne mora da se plati da se svira. I napravili smo koncert tu na sredini sobe, svi su se dobro proveli i onda smo nastavili. Scena koja je krenula da se dešava pre 2 godine, znači stvarno dosta bendova koji mogu se nabrojati, nije dovoljno 2 šake da se nabroje, koji su krenuli aktivno da sviraju i da prave malo bolju muziku, znači stvarno se osjetila promjena u tome. I Kvaka je tu ispala kao igrom slučajeva, kao jako dobro mesto.
So we are representing Kvaka, which is based in Molenbeek in Brussels. And we are a community center and a music venue. I'm Rita, I do the musical program since 4 years.
And I'm Walter, I'm running the center, I'm responsible of the center, but it's a large center with a lot of different items we are doing.
De VK is een gemeenschapscentrum en een concertzaal die werkt rond muziek, Molenbeek en maatschappij. Ik ben Rita, ik werk al 3,5 jaar in de VK en ik doe de muziekprogrammatie. Wat is er zo speciaal aan de VK op vlak van muziek? Dat die eigenlijk ook heel veel muziekgenres deden die andere zalen niet programmeerden. Zoals reggae, zoals hip-hop. Dat maakt de VK anders dan de meeste commerciële concertzalen. Voor mij is dat toch wel een belangrijk deel van mijn leven, de VK.
Ik ben Walter Salende, ik ben centrumverantwoordelijke van de Vaartkapoen. Momenteel staan we hier op deze site waar volop gewerkt wordt. En wij hopen, als alles goed gaat, tegen eind 2022 terug op deze site onze volledige werking te kunnen ontplooien. VK en Molenbeek, ik denk dat dat een hele belangrijke uitdaging is. Je kan niet vandaag alleen een concertzaal zijn en geen rekening houden met hetgeen dat rond jou gebeurt. Dus het is heel belangrijk dat we kijken van wie zijn de mensen die hier wonen, wat gebeurt hier in deze stad en hoe gaan we daarmee aan de slag.
De grote zaal, ik denk de grote zaal is een van het hart of zo van de VK. Ik denk dat mensen zich thuis voelen in de VK omdat het een heel laagdrempelig plek is, waar je makkelijk binnenstapt. Niet te veel poespas, niet te veel vreemde, moeilijke regels. Het is een beetje zoals thuis.
Mijn collega's weten meer over mij dan mijn eigen moeder hier. Dus dat zegt veel. De lokale dingen heb ik altijd wel heel leuk gevonden. Zo de lokale hip-hop scene die altijd wel kind aan huis is. Het is veel losser. Je komt naar een concert zien en het is oké dat je even naar buiten gaat om wat staat te praten. En dus het is veel minder de mativu. Je staat en gaat waar je wilt en je doet eigenlijk een beetje hier waar je wilt.
My name is Heidi and I'm the cultural programmer at Studenterhus Aarhus in Aarhus, Denmark.
I'm Siron, I'm the international coordinator at Studenterhus Aarhus in Denmark. And Studenterhus Aarhus is a non-profit association supporting student life in our city. in any way that we can.
This is primarily on upcoming artists, local artists. We also have some like bit bigger national artists coming by, but mainly we want to support and talent development within the local music environment also, because we have this smaller venue and you know, we want to make sure that the music is accessible for students, and it's a good way to create audience development.
I'm Leona, and I come from. We both come from Krakow, from the venue Elementarz mieszkańców, miast.
Yeah, and I'm Marek. We've been running the place since 2016. I do the art programming, Leona does the music programming, and we work together.
So we are right now in the attic where all the art exhibitions take place. An empty space that has these bricks and is an old attic that, like this building dates back to 1890. It's the floor is loose. There's no official bar. It's very rough. Everyone can bring his own booze, and I think that's the beauty of the space at the same time. And there's a basement and we do DJ events and live music there. This way. We established it in 2016. It was an idea of me and the art curator Arkadiusz Putorak. We just wanted to combine a space where all the art people and music people can meet at the same time, where we basically have a place of meeting to connect and maybe create further projects in the future. Very often, big institutions are not as helpful for local talents and communities as DIY spaces. Because this is where maybe it's more accessible for local artists to show what they do in their workshops, and this is where you bond, where you meet people. This can cure depressions. Like it's a place where you repetitively go and grow on.
I'm Isa. I'm from Pristina and I work in the community center called Termokiss. I'm a part of the community. It's a horizontal community which preaches social justice and tackles social injustice by art, music, by social inclusivity, and pretty much we're a factor of change in the society there. And pretty much the community has a program of a variety of workshops that include children, that include adults, include arts, painting, playing music. It includes community kitchen, which delivers food to the homeless in the city. So in a way, kind of tries to get along with tackling the issues that nowadays. Apart from that, the venue itself concentrates on a lot of talks regarding the human rights, the LGBT community, the minorities, and there's a lot of film screenings, and there's a lot of pretty much it's a social hub for a better change of the society.
Worm was not a space that was always very welcoming for very diverse kind of people. It was a space where people who are in the circle of, let's say, the avant-garde of Rotterdam felt welcome. But a lot of people did not felt welcome because they felt they were not in the know, or they were not good enough, or and it was very specific kind of avant-garde that was in Worm. So from this tradition of Dada and Fluxus, and so it was very, you can say, Eurocentric approach of avant-garde. And we, in the last 4.5 years, we tried to change that, to look at our position, so our kind of front runner position, not per se specifically on the artistic form, but in a way of working with people, so building relationships. And with that we became much more open and also much more attractive, even for old people in the neighborhood. They have their monthly meal in Worm every first Monday of the month, so they cook for themselves, and about 60 elderly of the neighborhood come in Worm, which is fantastic, because if you look in the inside of Worm, it's a very weird space, but for them they find it it's a completely other space than where they are normally. So for them that's very it's very inspiring for them.
So we are funded by quite a conservative government. But we are also located in one of the poorest and most dense areas of Brussels. That used to be like a no-go zone, but actually it's a really nice neighborhood. Especially for the community center, we really listen to the needs that they have, and we base our program around those needs and topics that they want to work around. And then something on the long term is we have a lot of volunteers, but they are paid volunteers, because it's very difficult to find volunteers who, especially in the region that we are in, who would come for free. But on the long term, we are really thinking about how we can engage them more in our decision making. We try to be very alert for local bands, so we are developing a whole program in the future for local bands and more female artists on the scene. And we try to work around relevant topics that come up in a certain period, like police violence or these kind of things that happen in Brussels.
Since we are a almost totally private place, we need to get the audience involved, because just for the money. I mean, but we are we are quite proud, because in this long way, since 7 years ago, we got the audience of San Sebastian and the little towns around get involved. We are quite more open than we were 7 years ago, but we are more open in a way we like to, in a more democratic way, get involved all kinds of musics and all kinds of demographics diversity, and we are trying to.
I think we are lucky also that we have an audience that is following us, and a very diverse audience. It's just that we never actually, there was never like a plan, let's say, to reach this. There was never like, we should now make this program for this kind of audience because we want to attract them. It just became naturally this way. And also maybe because we're open to some other collective that will create some program for like in the space. And I think also like we're pretty successful. Like, usually, for instance, if there is a concert, we will have some people that come exclusively to see the concert, but they will end up somehow in the exhibition space to discover a new visual artist that they never heard of before, and vice versa. Some people come for a premiere of an exhibition, and then they stay for the concert that will happen right away, which is like pretty cool. I think that's kind of an achievement, but we never like it was never planned actually. Like it was never analyzed either. Like it was just this way, and and I think we're just lucky to have a curious audience too. For instance, when Nicola is like, when there is band on tour, like when people come, even if they don't know about the band, and I think they come because they have the kind of trust in Kvaka. When I was working on this thesis, actually, I interviewed several people from the audience, and most of them were actually telling that Kvaka for them is like a home. Like the word home was always coming up again and again. Like Kvaka is like my home, Kvaka is my second home. I feel like at home when I'm here. So I think we were lucky to build this trust too, because actually people knows us. They come here, they see everyone's working, we're the same over and over. I think we're pretty approachable, you can talk to us. It's not like, when they come here, the manager is there at the bar serving them rakia, you know, like it's not like really, we don't have like a gap between our audience and us.
There's not a lot of diversity on the Danish music scene. It's very homogeneous, so we try to make it a safe space for LGBT plus artists. We try to present more female artists, non-binary artists, people from other countries as well, because we can take the risk. A couple of weeks ago, we had a concert with we only had 6 people show up as an audience, but everyone had a really good experience, and we got to present something that was it was Finnish folk music. It was very niche, so we can take chances like this. Then we also try to work on new formats, because we know that we can never become the venue in town that will sell the most tickets, because we are not placed in the city center and we are hidden in the university property building. So, there's also a cantina and a library, and you have to find us. So people won't go to our place on Saturdays for concerts maybe, but we can attract them for Wednesday concerts.
Because we do have... So the students of Aarhus at all higher educations are our focus, and that's for them that we exist. But that also means that our audience is quite homogenic, as Heidi said. They're all kind of resourceful. They don't have a lot of money, but they do have a little bit of money, specifically to spend on beer and a little bit on culture. So we are trying to reach out a little bit more to like civil society organizations, so we can broaden our scope a little bit. Also for the sake of the audience, so they can get. We're also here to broaden their horizons a little bit.
That's a good thing about students. We need to keep up all the time, because not a lot of them will move away from Aarhus after they finish their studies. So we can't really expect them to be coming a part of our audience for 10 years. It's maximum of 5. So yeah, it keeps us on our toes, which is really good, I think.
What makes Termokiss special? It's its structure, which basically is a community-run center, and that means that we don't really have, let's say, 5 or 6 people who are the main people there and working there, and they get the decisions. But it's like the community gets the decisions. That's what we have. Like the community meetings every Wednesday from 6, and that's why we sometimes delayed some answers, because we had to go through all that process. So in those meetings we discuss about different stuff and different topics that have to do with Termokiss and involves Termokiss directly. And if needed, we also vote with votes the whole community for a specific topic. And for example, if this organization wants to use our space, they always have to come to the weekly meet and to that kind of process to see the whole community, if the community agrees for that event to happen there and stuff like that. And for any new idea, for example, if someone has an idea about an activity, they come to the weekly meeting and we discuss together and then vote in the end.
I think at its core, Termokiss is not just this center, but it's also somehow an act of resistance, because there wasn't so much spaces for collectives to gather intentionally, and to just create some sort of world, like a micro world of their own.
We are a music and art space. I think what differentiates us from all the venues here is that we are not a regular open space. We are only open when we have events. So there are no spontaneous people that can come from the street inside. It's only for the people that really know about the event. We don't have funding. We have there were certain events where we had funding from the city, but we don't take any entrance for the exhibitions or the parties. And we sell, of course, a little bit of beer, but usually that is enough to let the artists that we invited for free have free alcohol. We started with more the presentation. So you are a local artist, you want to present something, you have the freedom, you can do whatever you want. But it's a short-term problem, because then the place only exists for the given moment of the presentation. And what we want to switch now to is more, how can we build a long-term relation? How can we not just present what the artist is working on at the studio, but how can we actually create in our space something that is staying.
Being a music venue, artists are one, if not the main driving force of us as a venue. So establishing a healthy and sustainable relationship with artists or with talent that lives in your city is of the utmost importance. You always want somebody to open a door for you, and that's how I like to perceive my role at Worm. I open the door for artists that are struggling in a similar way to get their music out or their voices heard or their artistry known to other people. And I think this is one of the most important. We are the gatekeepers, and we have to open this door.
Concept for musicians also that they have their own responsibility as well towards the larger community to help out other bands, help out international acts to tour together. This is how you build sustainable relationships across Europe, and in that way I can play my part with the venues that I work for and program in the Netherlands, because I also program in Amsterdam or in Groningen. And the best way to keep this ecosystem alive is that new artists that we work with also on the long term bring in new relationships. So with all the artists that I work with are now part of some larger spider web across Europe, in which there is connection sometimes made by people that I both know, but then all of a sudden you realize that they met each other on the way, and that's one of the coolest things if you are able to create new roads and new connections.
I have no problem with the fact that actually a big chunk of our audience are artists themselves or cultural producers, because many people, I think, fall into this trap of like trying to appeal to the widest audience. Well, this just isn't what we do most of the time. Sometimes we do it. And also, actually, the fact that we don't only throw exhibitions, that we don't only do music, that's a huge asset, because this allows many different audiences to meet and also do things that they wouldn't maybe do otherwise, because because they wouldn't.
This kind of thing when the audience is also creating program, and usually the audience, they are the creatives that also make something, and then they can become part of the organization and curators also. It can be like Kvaka has a pretty conservative structure in the crew. Like basically it was pretty conservative. Like we were very skeptical about accepting people for full time. We have very big standards for work ethics, like from dishwashing to slacking, but whenever we had a good eye for someone who is creative and likes it and shows just a bit of love for this, and whenever we managed to give love back in return and some understanding, it always proved fruitful. And not only because there was a better program, but also these people tend to bring more people like them. With a taste of being open and have a good eye to bring new people, young people to do all the magic. Yeah. Dirty work also, but it needs to have this. It needs to have new people like in these cycles, which I really think is great.
Every time I meet with a group of people like this, I get close to the idea that we are all like bees, We're collective creatures, and like we can really learn and foster and nourish each other with different ideas and have a constructive exchange, which will definitely help us out furthermore in the process.
One of the biggest eye-openers during this project, I think, was just to see the engagement of so many people working under such different circumstances that we do, as we've seen in this project, and the passion for what they do, even in countries with way less governmental support than we have, for instance. That's been very inspiring.
Yeah, it really gives a faith in, you know, in culture and the music industry, that, you know, that people really fight for this, for the art and for what they believe in, and it's very inspiring. It gives you like a new energy when we go back and sit on our offense, be like, okay, we can actually, you know, even though if we have some obstacles, we can manage, because it's very energizing to meet all of these people.
A lot of memorable moments for me were the moments when we could talk not to the people from the member organizations, but people around them, like people from the audience or regular collaborators, and to see the venues through their eyes and to understand the specificity of the context. That was always very interesting for me. I got some. This was like yet another mirror that we got, and that was always very interesting and very pleasant. It's almost like ethnographic research. You go out, you do the field work, and take notes.
And this is only the beginning, I think, because we started this, and I think I think what we worked on is pretty valuable, and will continue to be so in the future, not only for us, but for other venues that might join our network.
One thing that I will definitely try to implement in Belgrade, the Kvaka 22 venue, is the organization structure, and like Termokiss does. Like, this is really good, the rejuvenation of the crew. So to try to bring and engage every 2 years a new group of young people that would want not only to work some basic stuff or volunteer, but also to be an active element in programmation, which is very important. And this is like I'm ready to spend all my energy on this.
For me, one of the eye openers is that music is still a way of bounding people together, and even at all different levels of culture, social standard, all those, and that's one thing I really felt in all those different spaces, that we get the same ingredient, let's say that, and it's
you can make different dishes.
You can make different dishes which are always tasteful.
A step for man, but a big step for humankind, or something like that. No, you know, like
perfect.
Yeah,
perfect end.
Yeah, perfect. It took us some time to give that first step, like 8 years, you know, so more than a human being.